welcome back to my channel. My name is Savannah, and if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you like it. In today's video, we will look at the last 2 chapters in the book of Ecclesiastes. This will be part 8 of the Bible study series, and I'll link parts 1 through 7 in the description. Now, before we get into chapter 11, I want y'all to know that up until this point in the book, Solomon has excluded any thinking of life outside of the here and now. But in these final chapters, we will see a glimpse of light as he considers that maybe what we do here on earth does have eternal consequences. With that said, we will continue in chapter 11, verse 1. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves on the earth. And if a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it will lie. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. For the past few chapters, Solomon has been giving us wisdom through these short proverbs, which is consistent with the writer, as he is also the author of the book of Proverbs. In these opening verses of chapter 11, he gives us wisdom about the principle of cause and effect. In verse 1, he tells us to work now so that you'll have a reward in the future. Then he gives 2 more examples of cause and effect with the clouds and the trees. If the cloud is full of water, it will rain. If the tree falls in a certain direction, there it will lie. And in verse 4, he warns against overanalyzing. Don't spend so much time on things that are out of your control. Just get to work on what you can control. Verse 5. As you do not know the way the Spirit comes to the bones in the womb of a woman with child, so you do not know the work of God who makes everything. In the morning sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good. Here, Solomon wants his reader to understand the limitations of the human mind. We don't know the future, and with our finite minds, how could we definitively say that there is no eternity? How could anyone know that for certain? And that's why Solomon says, just as you don't know how a soul gets inside the womb of a woman, and bones are formed with soft material, you do not know the work of God who makes everything. And that should humble us. Verse 7. Light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to see the sun. So if a person lives many years, let him rejoice in them all. But let him remember that the days of darkness will be many. All that comes is vanity. Rejoice, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and the sight of your eyes. But know that for all these things God will bring you into judgment. Remove vexation from your heart and put away pain from your body, for youth and the dawn of life are vanity. Solomon is starting to answer his under the sun premise. Life is vanity, so you may as well just follow your heart. But know that for all these things, God will bring you into judgment. Solomon realizes that life is not lived only for the here and now, but also for eternity. Chapter 12, verse 1. Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come and the years draw near, of which you will say, I have no pleasure in them. Here, Solomon observes the wisdom in remembering your Creator while you're young. When we're young, we don't typically view our lives in light of eternity because we think life is forever. But the preacher tells us to remember our Creator before it's too late, before we're in our last days on earth and taking our last breath. Verse 2. While the sun and the light, the moon and the stars are not darkened, and the clouds do not return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men bow down, when the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look through the windows grow dim, when the doors are shut in the streets, and the sound of grinding is low, when one rises up at the sound of a bird, and all the daughters of music are brought low. Also they are afraid of height, and of terrors in the way. When the almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper is a burden, and desire fails. For man goes to his eternal home, and the mourners go about in the streets. Remember your Creator before the silver cord is loosed, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the well. Then the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. All is vanity. In these verses, Solomon very poetically describes our last days. Then in verse 7, our last breath, when the dust returns to the earth and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Verse 9. Besides being wise, the preacher also taught the people knowledge, weighing and studying and arranging many proverbs with great care. The preacher sought to find words of delight, and uprightly he wrote words of truth. The words of the wise are like goads, and like nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings. They are given by one shepherd. My son, beware of anything beyond these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Solomon is about to give us his final words of wisdom, but before he does, he emphasizes the importance of truth and godly wisdom, and he describes this as like a goad. A goad is a stick with a pointy end that is used to herd cattle. The initial poke doesn't feel too great, but the end result is that the cattle are going the right way. Solomon says that true wisdom is like this in that it may sting at first, but in the end will guide us on the right path. Verse 13. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. These are Solomon's final words in his book, and he concludes that man's duty is to fear God and keep his commandments because God will bring every deed into judgment. And friends, we have all sinned against a holy and just God who will punish sin. This is why we need the gospel. This is why we need Jesus. The wrath of God was poured out on him, and he took the criminal's place. He took our place. And if we will transfer our trust from whatever it is in this world we find security in and transfer it to the Savior, he promises everlasting life. He promises to raise you up into eternity, making your life here on earth anything but meaningless. Well, that's all I have for today's video. I thank y'all so much for watching. I will see y'all in my next video. And as always, don't forget to thank God for waking up this morning.